Susan had always been a loving and dedicated wife to her husband, John. She had always believed that their marriage was based on trust, respect, and loyalty. But one day, Susan's world came crashing down when she discovered that John had been cheating on her with none other than her own sister, Emily. Susan was heartbroken and devastated. She couldn't believe that her husband, the man she had loved and trusted for so many years, could do something so cruel and shameful. The betrayal was too much for her to bear. She felt like her entire world had come crashing down around her. Susan tried to confront John and Emily about their affair, but they both denied everything. They made her feel like she was crazy and paranoid. They tried to convince her that she was imagining things and that her suspicions were unfounded. But Susan knew the truth. She had seen the evidence with her own eyes. Susan was stuck on revenge. She couldn't just let John and Emily get away with what they had done. She needed to make them pay for betraying her trust and breaking her heart. She spent countless hours plotting her revenge, trying to come up with the perfect plan. Finally, Susan came up with an idea. She decided to start an affair with John's best friend, Mike. She knew that John would be devastated if he found out that she was cheating on him too. She also knew that it would be the perfect way to get back at Emily for sleeping with her husband. Susan's plan worked perfectly. John was devastated when he found out about her affair with Mike. He couldn't believe that his wife could do something so cruel and heartless. Emily was also shocked and hurt by Susan's betrayal. She couldn't believe that her own sister could stoop so low. But Susan didn't stop there. She continued to plot her revenge, taking small but calculated steps to make John and Emily pay for their betrayal. She started to spread rumors about them, telling everyone she knew what they had done. She also started to withdraw from her family and friends, isolating herself from the world around her. The police started to get involved when John and Emily were found dead in their home. The police suspected that Susan was involved in their deaths, but she played the victim, claiming that she had nothing to do with it. She told the police that she had been at home alone on the night of the murders. The police launched a deep investigation, trying to find any evidence that would link Susan to the crime. They interviewed everyone who knew John and Emily, trying to piece together what had happened. But Susan was careful. She had covered her tracks well, leaving no evidence behind. For 2 years, Susan managed to stay one step ahead of the police. She moved to a different state, changed her name, and started a new life. But then, new evidence came to light that pointed to Susan as the killer. The police discovered that Susan had hired a hitman to kill John and Emily. They found emails and text messages between Susan and the hitman, detailing the plans for the murders. They also found evidence that Susan had been planning the murders for months, carefully plotting her revenge and making sure that she would never get caught. Susan was eventually arrested and charged with murder. She was tried and convicted, and she is now serving a life sentence in prison. Her story is a cautionary tale about the dangers of revenge and the consequences of letting anger and bitterness. Susan's life in prison was miserable. She spent most of her days locked up in a small cell, with only her thoughts for company. She had lost everything: her husband, her sister, her freedom, and her reputation. Susan was left with nothing but regret and sorrow. As the years passed, Susan's health started to deteriorate. She was plagued by a variety of ailments, including high blood pressure, diabetes, and heart disease. Her body was weak, and her mind was consumed by guilt and shame. Susan's family had long since disowned her, and she had no visitors or friends. She was alone, except for the guards who watched over her. One day, Susan woke up feeling particularly weak and unwell. She was struggling to breathe, and her chest was tight. She called out for help, but nobody came. The guards were busy with their duties, and they didn't hear her cries for help. As Susan lay there, gasping for breath, she realized that she was going to die. She thought of all the things she had done wrong, all the lives she had ruined, and all the pain she had caused. She wished that she could turn back time and make things right. But it was too late. Susan took her last breath and closed her eyes for the final time. The news of Susan's death spread quickly, and people reacted with mixed emotions. Some felt sorry for her, while others felt that justice had been served. But for Susan, it was the end of a long and painful journey. In the end, Susan's story is a cautionary tale about the dangers of revenge and the consequences of letting anger and bitterness consume us. It is a reminder that our actions have consequences and that we must always be mindful of the choices we make. Susan's story serves as a warning to us all that the path of revenge is a dark and treacherous one, and it is a road that should never be traveled.